NBA playoffs underway. Game 1 between the Raptors and Cavs. Complete dominance from Cleveland. Early fourth here, off the break, pass to Donovan Mitchell. Pump fakes and throws down the slam. Next, Cleveland, possession, Mitchell driving. Layup is no good, so he just gets his own rebound, lays it home, and the Cavaliers go on to win it 126-113 from Cleveland. For much more on this Game 1, let's go ahead and welcome in our own John Gonzalez. John, let's go ahead and start with the Cavs, who get it done in dominant fashion behind Donovan Mitchell. This was his 9th straight Game 1 with more than 30 points. That extends his NBA record, making it the longest streak in playoff history. What impressed you most about his performance?
Yeah, he always shows up to start a series, right? I mean, Donovan Mitchell was fantastic tonight, goes for 32 points. The Raptors really had no answer for him, which is a little surprising because the Raptors are a pretty good defensive team. They were 5th in defensive rating this season. And the Cavs are sort of the inverse. They're not a very good defensive team, but they are an excellent offensive team, and they're at home. Now, the question for the Cavs was really, what's this lineup look like? They haven't had a ton of time together. They played 41 different lineups this season. 5 other teams have done that, and none of those are playoff teams. So they're a little unsure about what they were going to get from this unit, and they really needed Donovan Mitchell to step up, and he absolutely did, as did James Harden and Evan Mobley. And then Jared Allen, who has been dealing with a knee injury, he goes for 27 minutes. So I think if you're Kenny Atkinson and you look at this first game, you're thinking, all right, pretty close between us and the Raptors. They didn't beat the Raptors, Jordan, all season during the regular season, and then they come out and just absolutely maul them in Game 1. You're feeling pretty good about it.
You brought up the questions surrounding this Cavaliers team as a whole heading into the playoffs and what others were saying, but what were your takeaways from this team's performance as a whole?
Yeah, if I'm the Cavs, I mean, look, at the trade deadline, they went and decided to shake things up, right? Because they come into this season with aspirations of definitely improving on what happened last year. Last year, they're at the top of the Eastern Conference all season during the regular season. Then they go into the playoffs and they get bounced in the second round by those plucky Indiana Pacers, right? Well, that's not where they wanted to be. And then they come in this year and they're thinking, all right, now they thought the Celtics were going to take a step back. Indiana is off the board because of what happened with Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles. And they thought they were just going to run through the Eastern Conference. That wasn't the case either. They got off to a slow start, but they still have aspirations of making the Eastern Conference Finals or beyond. So this is one of those teams that really needs to make a deep run in the postseason. Otherwise, there could be off-season changes. But you got to start somewhere, and today was a good start by handling the Raptors. Again, a team that they had not beat during the regular season, but beat really easily today.
As for the Raptors, you mentioned they just had no answer for Donovan Mitchell today. What do they need to do to bounce back in Game 2 come Monday and attempt to contain him?
Yeah, not only no answer for Donovan Mitchell, but really no answer offensively. So we'll start with Donovan Mitchell. I mean, yeah, so you got to figure out a way to slow that guy down. Now, that's easier said than done, especially when he's got James Harden in the backcourt with him, and those two are a 1-2 punch that is awfully difficult to deal with. That's the reason why the Cavaliers went and made that trade at the deadline, where they ended up getting older by trading 26-year-old Darius Garland for 36-year-old James Harden, but they figured that was a net win because they're trying to win now, and certainly it was in this game. But then offensively, the Raptors got to figure something out here because, look, Scotty Barnes had a pretty good game offensively, and R.J. Barrett went for 24 points. They didn't have Emmanuel Quickley, which does not help. But the thing that I'm looking at here, and the guy that I'm singling out, is Brandon Ingram, because if Scotty Barnes is your best player, Brandon Ingram's supposed to be the 1A, or you could reverse that and make Brandon Ingram your 1 and Scotty Barnes your 1A, but only one of those guys came to show up today. And Brandon Ingram goes for 17 points. He only took 9 shots. He was 0 for 1 from deep. He was 7 for 10 from the line. That is not good enough. If you're Brandon Ingram, you come into this team and you're looking to be a leader and one of the best players on the Raptors, a Raptors team that is grossly overpaid for a 5 seed, you got to show up and do more than just shoot 9 shots and score 17 points.
The Raptors have now lost 11 straight playoff games against Cleveland. As we button this up, Cleveland obviously gets it done in Game 1. You actually have the Cavs going on to win this series. But how much faith do you have in this team to make a pretty deep run?
Not much, because I have them winning this series, but I don't have them advancing past the second round where they would ostensibly face the Detroit Pistons, who have been atop of the Eastern Conference all season long. And that's a problem for the Cavs, right? Because as we mentioned, they really do need to make a deep run. They need to, I think it's Eastern Conference Finals at a minimum. Otherwise, you're looking at a really difficult offseason where all of a sudden, look, Donovan Mitchell, offseason after next, is going to be a free agent. Do they all of a sudden unplug, say, Evan Mobley, maybe make a run at a Giannis Antetokounmpo? Could Kenny Atkinson's job be in danger? Might they shuffle the deck even further? I mean, they've already shown a propensity to do it, right? At the trade deadline where they go and acquire James Harden and they pick up Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. Like, this is a team that has decided, hey, we weren't good enough before the deadline. We tinkered. Now, all of a sudden, if they don't get out of the second round at least and get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it would not surprise me if they tinker a little bit more.
All right, we'll leave it there as the Cavaliers get it done in dominant fashion. Game 2 is slated for Monday at 7 Eastern, also from Cleveland before the series shifts to Toronto come Thursday.
Alex Sales, Knicks, Zach Simony, fellas. Let's start with that Rockets-Lakers matchup. Is that shocking that the Rockets are minus 650? I guess possibly with these Lakers injuries. Either way, if KD's good to go, this is a great matchup. You're both staying away from a side, though, Zach. You're looking at the total, which has dropped down a bit from 209.5 down to 207.5. Taking advantage of that move, going over?
Yeah, I'm going to go over the total. You definitely understand why it's so low with the Lakers being out with a couple of key players in Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Kevin Durant is questionable, but in the regular season, this total was right in that 223.5, 224.5 range. So I think it's too big of a drop down here. You look at the Lakers, anytime you have key players out, I think it impacts them deeper in the series. So I look for them to get unexpected contributions in game 1. And then when you look at the Rockets side of things, I think they're capable of pacing this total over if the Lakers have any offensive issues down the stretch of the season. They average 124 points over their last 10 games. So too low of a total here. I'm looking for it to go over on the 207.5.
Yeah, and trends aren't predictive, but the trends are in your favor. Houston over 8 have gone over in 8 of their last 10 games, and the Lakers 12-5 when they've had 2 or more days of rest between games. So certainly bodes well to your over there. Alex, you're looking at a prop. Surprise, surprise. Big man Alperen Sengun. You're going under, which I assume you think KD is going to be good to go.
I do, yes, Claudia. Yeah, I'm tentatively expecting KD to suit up. I would certainly check the lineups prior to the game, but yeah, I'm going under 20.5 points for Alperen Sengun here against the Lakers. We look at this low projected total, just 207 points. Both these teams play at a sluggish pace. I expect that to be the case today. I think the Lakers aren't going to be able to beat the Rockets in a game where they get out and run a lot. So I expect points to be hard to come by. And this is actually a really difficult matchup for Sengun. The one thing the Lakers do well defensively has been guard the interior and guard the paint. They've been very good this season against opposing centers, giving up the 4th fewest points to the position. DeAndre Ayton will be tasked with slowing down Sengun. And Sengun didn't quite make the jump or leap that a lot of people expected him to now in his 5th season here. So I just think 21 points in this sort of environment is a tall order. I think it's a good spot to fade Sengun in the event that KD does in fact suit up.
All right, so an under there, a play on the total over. Let's move on to Hawks and Knicks. Series price here. Knicks are on a minus 300 favorite. You're staying away from a side again, Alex. Going with a prop, OG Anunoby for a combo tonight.
Indeed, yes. We're ordering a combo for OG Anunoby. We're going over just 22.5 PRA, Claudia. We're getting a pretty big discount here considering OG in the regular season averaged more than 24 PRA. I also think considering who OG is, he's the Knicks' best perimeter defender on the wing. He's going to be tasked with guarding Jalen Johnson. I expect OG Anunoby to play upwards of 40 minutes in this spot. He played well against the Hawks this season as well. 3 games versus Atlanta, all 3 games, as you can see by the graphic here, he eclipsed this number of 22.5 PRA. So I expect him to be on the court a ton. I think he's going to stuff the stat sheet. He played well to close out the season, and we're getting a pretty big discount on this combination line. So I think OG continues to keep things rolling. I think he has a big game today.
Yeah, when the minutes are there, the volume certainly is. Looking at this regular season series, Knicks took 2 of 3. We're seeing some 6s out there pop up, so some New York money coming that way. Zach, you agree with the market? You like New York?
Yeah, I like New York here, minus the 5.5. But I do think this is a spread that's going to come down to the final minutes. But I trust the Knicks to pull past the number. They won the regular season series, as you just alluded to, 2 out of the 3. have that clutch player in Jalen Brunson that we saw in the final week of the regular season when the Knicks faced Atlanta. He took over in the final minutes. He scored 12 straight points from the 3:30 mark till the 5-second mark in the fourth quarter. And I just look at the Atlanta Hawks. They have that youth experience that I worry about closing out a game in the fourth quarter, especially when you're on the road at MSG's. This Knicks roster is loaded with that veteran playoff pedigree. I'll lay the 5.5 with the Knicks.
All right, last one we're going to talk about is T-Wolves and Nuggets. And earlier in the show, I talked